Okay, so thank you very much for joining us this morning. As you can see, it's not just Much Loved people here today. So I'm Sally from Much Loved, and I'm joined by my colleague Catherine Watson, who's one of our account managers. But I'm also joined by Emma from the Stoke Association, and Rowena from Anthony Nolan, and Laura and Stephanie from St Peter and St James's. And this morning is all about dedication pages. Now, what I haven't done is got my presentation quite as it should be. So I'm just going to share my screen and talk through a couple of slides, and then I'm going to hand over to our guests who have very kindly agreed to talk through their successes through their dedication pages that they've had set up over the last couple of years. So this is, as we've got a bit of a mixed audience, I think there's quite a lot of partners here, but possibly also a few prospects. So I just wanted to take the opportunity just to kind of give you a little bit of a reminder about the capabilities of our dedication pages. So they're free as part of our Optimum and our Advantage partnership. They're really easy to set up, and they can provide some quick and easy fundraising opportunities for you. They can be built and published under 5 minutes. In fact, I think you could probably do it quicker if we set ourselves to a little timing challenge. We've provided over 50 free templates for you to choose from. So all kinds of different designs, from sort of Christmassy designs, national celebration days, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Christmas, those kind of things, as well as sort of wedding pages and all kinds of other stuff, lots of sort of campaign fundraising pages as well. They are mobile optimized, so they look fantastic on mobile devices, and that's primarily because actually most people do access these pages on mobiles. So that's really crucial. And I would always encourage, when you set one up, to have a good look at what it looks like on a mobile as well. There is, of course, the option to have your own bespoke page, and the charities that are with us today have got their own bespoke pages set up. And they can be used for a huge variety of different campaigns. So I guess Christmas and Light Up a Life are maybe the sort of obvious ones, but also we've seen them used for patient stories. We've seen them used for events fundraising, particularly when we were in lockdown and there was virtual fundraising. The pages gave an opportunity for people to show their pictures of themselves doing that activity. So they weren't necessarily a fundraising page, but just a page that created an opportunity for people to come together and share their experiences of that event. We've seen them set up for volunteering, all kinds of campaigning, from collecting stories and case studies to present to government to make an influence with them. Pledges, we've got lots of legacy pages that are set up, which is quite a nice way of using them. Catherine is the master of getting charities to set up wedding pages, and we've had quite a few successful ones of those. And also the reason why we set them up is in memory. So you can have a long-standing page displaying on your website as an in memory. So that's an alternative to tribute funds. So your supporters might not all be interested in going sort of full breadth and having a tribute page, but they might want a little bit more than just making a donation in memory from your website, because obviously the dedication pages allow people to have a photo and also upload a message and the name of the person. So it enables the memory to come alive a little bit more. So enough from me. I am, without further ado, going to hand over to Emma from Stroke, who's going to talk us through her dedication page, which was set up for Mother's Day just gone past.
Thank you, Sally. Good morning, everyone. Like Sally said, my name's Emma and I work for the Stroke Association. I have done for the past 6 years, but our team has only recently been specialising in memory and Much Loved, and that's held within the regional fundraising team within our charity. As a charity in general, we're fairly new to creating and setting up dedication pages. We've done 4 so far. 2 of these were for virtual events, one for last Christmas and the one that I'm going to talk about today, which is for the Mother's Day just gone. Thank you, Sally. Next slide. So looking at our overall objectives and target audience for the Mother's Day page, we found that the events dedication pages were really great for engaging our supporters and gathering case studies, and they really helped with future event promotion. But the dedication page that we ran for Christmas 2021 didn't have as much engagement as we would have liked. So we decided to try a Mother's Day page as another test for like a more general campaign. And in doing so, we've set ourselves just some fairly broad objectives, no very specific KPIs, just to try and find our feet with this type of campaign. So overall, we wanted to raise awareness for our charity and to show the real life impact of stroke on families through authentic stories, which dedication pages are fantastic for. We wanted to boost our social interaction with a stroke connected audience and new supporters. And we wanted to see if we could drive people through to our Much Loved Remembrance Fund landing page through the dedication page, and therefore potentially increase awareness of the funds and to lead people to create new funds. We were looking specifically at acquiring new supporters, so we didn't focus on engaging with our current supporters, but reaching out to new audiences. And we did this by using paid ads and social media, with the aim of gaining new consent through the dedication page, with a view to add these people onto an ongoing journey with us. Obviously, gathering new case studies was a big part of this, to use in other work across the charity. And the main test really was to see if investing in paid ads for dedication pages would help us to achieve our targets. And we kept the audience very broad. We were just looking at stroke connected. And we did that through bereavement or celebration. So we marketed the dedication page for remembering mothers at Mother's Day, but also celebrating mothers who are stroke survivors as well. Thank you, Sally. Next slide. So I'm just going to focus on the 2 ways that we promoted the page on social media. So we used organic and paid social. And we're really lucky as a charity. We've got 11 regional Facebook and Twitter pages. So we decided to promote for 5 weeks from the 21st of Feb right up until Mother's Day. And we posted 3 times on each of the regional pages across that time scale. We also posted on our national Facebook and Instagram on Mother's Day itself. Now, the difference between the Mother's Day campaign and the Christmas one was we were really lucky in that we got some real authentic stories that we could use for the promotion. So the pictures you can see here are of Jan and her daughter Carly. Jan is a stroke survivor, so we used her story for our sort of celebration angle, and used some lovely quotes from Carly and Jan on that. Next slide, please. And we also had the lovely Belinda and her mum Sarah. So they were our bereavement case study. You can see the lovely quote there that Belinda allowed us to use. Unfortunately, she lost her mum last March, so this was her first Mother's Day without her. And that really, really landed really well with our target audience. We had a lot of engagement for this case study across both organic and paid social. Next slide. So paid social ads ran from the 28th of Feb to the 27th of March, and you can see I've included some screenshots of the paid ads there. So we've got Carly and Jan, Belinda and Sarah, and another case study, which is Jodie and her mum. Jodie was a supporter who ran for us last year and did some fundraising for us. So we used her case study as a slightly different angle, so a fundraising angle as well. Next slide. I've just included a snapshot of our media plan, so you can see that we were targeting different focused audiences through paid social. We planned to spend about 10,000 and we ended up spending 12,000 on the campaign. We just had a last minute push on it on the run up to Mother's Day. We got some really good results on impressions, reach, a lot of click-throughs, and we saw some great interaction and responses on social media itself. Lots of comments on the paid ads. And I just wanted to highlight here that we had 707 people that actually clicked through from the dedication page to our much loved landing page. So the interest was there in going from the dedication page to find out more about actually creating remembrance funds. So we saw that as a really successful element of the campaign. So it's definitely sort of triggering that response in people to look more into in-memory fundraising. Peak of interaction was from the 24th to the 27th of March. As the ad campaign only finished on Sunday, we haven't done the full evaluation, but it looks like the most engaged audience was women, with a fairly even spread across age groups. Slightly more engagement from the ages of 45 to 64. Next slide, please. So we had 327 dedications, which was really good for us and a vast improvement on the Christmas campaign that we ran. I've just included this one from Karen in memory of her mum, Jessie. This is perfect case study gold for us. It shows that stroke happens to younger people. It shows the impact of stroke on families, children becoming carers, children being bereaved when their parents are obviously in this case only 53 years old. So we've been stewarding everybody that left a dedication to ask them about whether they'd be willing to share their stories as case studies, and also trying to sort of do a very soft ask to direct people back to setting up remembrance funds as well. Next slide, please. So just a little overall evaluation to sum up. Income on the page wasn't great. We were actually expecting this. So it wasn't the main aim of our page. The donation ask was optional. The average gift was low. Again, not a big surprise for us. And we just have to think in the future about our income versus expenditure, because obviously we did put a lot of money into the paid ad side of things. As I said, we stewarded every person that left a dedication. And we've had one person go on to create a new fund on the back of that so far, but it's still early days. The biggest outcome for us was the fact that we got GDPR consents for 225 new supporters. So we'll be pulling these supporters through to an onward in-memory journey, either postal or email, depending on what they opted into. So this is the start of the evaluation for us, really. We're going to be monitoring them for the next 12 months and seeing what kind of interaction this campaign brings for these new supporters. We do plan to change the dedication page to a read-only, and at the moment we're looking at reopening it again next year. Possibly doing a short push on paid social just for those couple of days on the run up to Mother's Day to get some new supporters, but then also combining it with an automated mailing to existing in-memory supporters to try and improve our return on investment. And that's everything from me.
Sorry, just realised I was on mute. Thank you very much, Emma. So it's really interesting, isn't it? I know that £12,000 on paid social sounds like a lot of money, but actually when you equate that back to the number of new supporters that you've got, I think it's probably quite good value, really.
Yeah.
I should imagine they're quite difficult to get hold of. Somebody popped in the chat box, will there be an opportunity for questions? Yes, absolutely. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat box. And then when we get to the very end of the session, Catherine and I will, present them to our panelists here. So please do feel free to ask any questions away. We'll just ignore them until all the presentations are done, and then we'll come back to them. So anything that springs to mind, pop it in the chat box. So thank you very much, Emma. So I'm now going to hand over to Laura and Steph from St Peter and St James's.
Thanks, Sally. Hi, my name's Laura and I work with Steph, who's also on the call. We work at St Peter and St James Hospice in Mid Sussex, and we're both individual giving and legacy fundraisers.
Hello, hello everyone.
Just so you know, the quotes that are on the slides are some of the messages that we had back as a result of this appeal. So we've just put a few up here just so you can read them, because we got some really lovely messages. So can we go to the next slide, please, Sally? Thank you. So this was our first spring appeal that we had run last year. the previous year in 2020, we'd done an emergency appeal in April and then our first sort of proper Christmas appeal. So we were a bit nervous about doing a sort of a third ask in a year, but we really wanted to run this appeal kind of end of March because it was the 1 year anniversary of our first lockdown. We were still kind of in the pandemic, so we felt it was a good time to run the appeal because people were still kind of a bit more generous towards charities at that point. And we had the idea of asking people to write a message of thanks to the nurses because we feel like in fundraising we see quite a lot of the gratitude of our patients and families, but probably the nurses don't always see that side. So that's why we sort of came up with this idea. And it was the first time that we'd used a much loved dedication page. But one of our objectives is to try and encourage people to donate more online. So this seemed like a good opportunity to trial the dedication page. Next slide, please, Sally. So within the appeal, we had a A4 letter, which was written by our head of clinical services about the year that they had had. There was a donation form, and at the bottom of that was a space where people could write their message back to the nurse. So we deliberately put that on the donation form in the hope to encourage people to give. The focus of the letter was more about the head of clinical services asking people to write to her team and thank them. But obviously, we hope that people will also give at the same time. So we sent this out as a postal mailing, and anyone that sent back a message we put up at the hospice, and we also wrote their message on the Much Loved dedication page, and then anyone that we had consent to email, we emailed them the dedication page. So all together, once we put everything together, we had a really lovely message board for our nurses. I'll just hand over to Steph now.
Thanks, Laura. So how did we promote the appeal? The appeal was sent to over 2,500 warm donors. That was over 1,300 by post and just under 1,200 by email. For the postal mailing, we included everyone that's given within the last 2 years and has consent. Just before the appeal launched, we sent an email to our most frequently and recently donors and asked them if they wanted to leave a message on the dedication board. We prioritized on the message in that email rather than giving a donation. And it meant that the board filled up with messages before the launch. The email was split into 3 groups, and we split them in alphabetical order, which meant that over 10 days we could send out 3 emails, which meant that the responses were staggered, and it kept the Much Loved dedication page full of recent messages. We also added the appeal to the website just as an event, and we published it on Facebook, especially on our 3 Facebook community pages. 10 days after the appeal launch, we sent out a reminder by email, and in that reminder we took out anyone that's left a message or made a donation. So it was only sent to those that haven't responded to the appeal. And in that email, we also included anyone that has received the appeal by post that has an email address. Next slide, please. So the success of the campaign, the appeal was received by over 2,500 people, and the cost of the appeal was £2,600. The income was, that includes gift aid, just under £22,000, which is a great return on investment. We received 229 donations, and the response rate was just under 10%, which so far has been our best response rate for any appeal that we've done. We received 150 messages, and the majority of supporters responded with a donation and a message. In fact, only 18 people left a message without a donation. The donations range from £3.50 to £3,000. The most popular gift was £50, followed by 25 and 100. A really great result was that we received 4 new regular giving sign-ups, which is brilliant. What we did is we added the link to our regular giving sign-up page in the top navigation. I don't know what to say. Yeah, in the top corner, top right corner is a navigation menu where you can add links to different pages. Next slide, please. So the most popular method of giving for us was check. That is probably because of our older demographic. But what we found really interesting is that the second most popular way of giving was on the Much Loved page, which was a great surprise because we've not used the Much Loved page before as a way of giving online, other than tribute funds. So we were quite impressed with the results. And like Laura mentioned earlier, as it's part of our objectives to increase online giving, it's a great way of adding that to our range of platforms. Over to you, Laura.
Yeah, so we felt that this mailing was a good example of good proactive fundraising, and anyone that left a particularly nice message we got in touch with and asked whether we might be able to use their quote, share their quote in future, or whether anyone would be prepared to tell us a bit more about their story with the hospice. And as a result of that, we had permission to share 19 quotes, and also we got 4 full case stories out of that, which is great to have a bank to use in the future, because we quite often struggle with getting good case stories. So that was something really good that came out of this. And so we are using dedication pages going forward. We've just used one for Much Love, for Mother's Day, sorry, and we plan to use one for Father's Day, and possibly more in the future, because we do find that it's been very successful. And that's it from us. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's really interesting. I'll tell you what I wanted to do actually was just to show the audience strokes page, which looks like this, and the links that they were talking about sit up here in the top kind of right hand corner. So you can see there's a link from the stroke page to be able to set up a new tribute page. And then you've got the sort of banner image and then the messages display underneath. And then this is the one that St. Peter and St. James has set up, and they've got a link to be able to give monthly up at the top, which Steph was talking about. So I thought that was incredibly interesting, and God, you shouldn't do 2 things at once, should you? I'll concentrate on the things I was going to say. I love the idea of sending out the staggered emails. I think that's ingenious, so that all these dates are different, because it is something that you look at, I think. Also love the idea of kind of almost having a selection of VIP supporters who you encourage and invite to send a first message. I think that's a lovely idea. Nobody ever wants to be the first, but actually if you kind of turn it on its head and then you're making them feel special because they're the first, I think that was a really lovely idea. And fantastic to hear that you got sort of 4 regular givers as a result of this page. I think that just, so it's a bit like adding, that Stroke did, adding a link for people to be able to create a tribute. It just sort of extends the reach of the page. So I know there are a few questions, but like I said, we'll come back to that. And I just want to give Rowena the opportunity for her to talk through her page as well. So over to you, Rowena.
Great, thank you. I'm Rowena, I'm the Senior Community Fundraising Manager at Nolan, and I lead on our In Memory fundraising programme, and our community fundraising programme In Memory sits within the community fundraising programme here. For those of you who don't know who Anthony Nolan is, for someone with blood cancer, a stem cell transplant can be their only chance of survival. And Anthony Nolan is the charity that makes the life-saving connection between people with blood cancer and the incredible strangers who are willing and ready to donate their stem cells. At the moment, we give a chance of life to 3 people every day. But we can't do that without the support of people on the register and the people who fundraise and donate. And we have grown our In Memory programmes quite substantially over the last few years. It raised around £100,000 in 2019, and in 2021 it raised £270,000, and that's primarily thanks to the growth that we've seen through Much Loved, and in particular tribute funds. So if we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk about our Christmas campaign, which was called Light a Star. We started this campaign in 2019, and we really wanted it to be a special moment to engage with our In Memory audience. Our aims were to offer an engagement opportunity to existing donors and encourage donations, but also to inspire first gifts from an In Memory audience who had never financially given. So on the next slide, I am going to show you some of our creative. In the first and second year, we ran ads through Facebook and Instagram, as well as an email out to our previous In Memory supporters. We also did some organic social as well. For our ads, we targeted a female over 30 audience with an interest in Anthony Nolan. We targeted that audience just because it was the type of audience that we could see already donating In Memory and particularly engaging in our tribute funds. We only had a small budget, and we wanted to try out and see if we could acquire new supporters in this way. I'm sure lots of you will agree that acquiring new In Memory supporters is a little bit of an unresolved challenge in Memory fundraising. And so these 2 adverts on the left, if Sally just presses play on the bottom one, you'll see that one. This was a moving graphic with a case study that we had going as well for a young man called Ashley. His sister had set up a dedication the previous year, and we asked if we could share her story. For us, we found that our ads on Facebook and Instagram weren't hugely effective. The cost per acquisition was too high for what we'd budgeted for, and the numbers too small. But we are a relatively niche charity. There's only 2,000 people each year who require a stem cell transplant. But if you are a larger charity who has a really cause-connected audience and budget to test and learn, this could really be worthwhile. And as Emma spoke about, if you're thinking about the long-term journey and the lifetime value, there's definitely potential in this, but it didn't work for us for what we were aiming for this campaign. If you are interested, the bottom ad, which shared Ashley's story, performed best for us. The copy was the quote from his sister, and we had this moving graphic. But in 2021, we decided we would just go ahead with the email, as that was what had worked best for us in the past. So during 2021, like lots of other charities, we were working towards recovery from the pandemic, and we were facing an incredibly busy period. Lots of different demands, especially on our creative team and our digital team, as well as capacity within our own team. But we didn't want to miss the opportunity to have this moment of engagement. So we thought about how we could do it with minimal resource, and we decided that we would go ahead using previous artwork, refresh the email that we had done before, just take on our learnings from previous years to make sure it was continually improving. and we went out to the data pools that we knew had worked previously. So we segmented this email. We sent it to previous dedicators, previous in-memory donors, previous fundraisers across events and community, and people who had previously attended our carol concert, because we hadn't been able to have a carol concert for 2 years, and we actually used to have a lighter start offering at our carol concert, a physical offering. So we thought this might be interesting to them as well. And that way we were able to personalize all these emails and make sure that they were targeted to the right people. We contacted them in early December, and then again a few days before Christmas. We do something that has been referenced already, actually, but I don't know if all charities are doing this. We direct people to the same page as we had in previous years. So we've had the same page since 2019, and we do that for a couple of reasons. One is that we want to encourage people who have donated previously to go and visit their previous dedication, and we want that journey to be as smooth as possible. So we want, when they're visiting their dedication, that to be in the same place as they can make another donation, and just make that as easy as possible for them. There is potential that they might go, oh, there's my dedication, it's already there, I won't donate, but that's not something we've seen. This audience is our best performing audience, and we had really high rates of people making a repeat donation the following year. And then the other reason is just herd mentality, that we want people to see that other people are doing it. We want people to arrive on that page and it to be full of messages, and people to feel inspired to write their own message too. So how did it go? We emailed 6,700 supporters. Oh, if you go back one slide.
Oh, go back, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Okay. You carry on chatting, yeah. and I'll work it out.
We emailed 6,700 supporters, and we raised just over £3,000, including gift aid from 61 gifts. That was up from around £1,000 in our first year, £2,000 in our second year. And in 2021, we've taken out all spend and really reduced the time as well. So we're seeing a good growth each year. And our growth is mainly due to taking on learnings to improve our emails and our targeting. We have around a 1% conversion rate from the email, which for a donation email is above sector averages and above the averages that we see for other emails at Anthony Nolan. So we're really pleased with that. Our average gift was heavily skewed by 2 high value donations of around £500, which was amazing. We weren't expecting those donations, but once those donations are taken out, our average gift was £34, including gift aid, up by around £7. And we do include a £40 prompt. £40 is how much it costs to fund a potential stem cell donor on the register. So we use that as a prompt, and I think that probably increased our average gift. And then a byproduct of the campaign was engagement. We don't share a huge amount about in-memory fundraising with our wider audience, so it gave us a really lovely opportunity to introduce the idea of remembering someone with a gift. It was also brilliant internally. We get loads of engagement for the campaign from colleagues. They always go and visit the page and read the dedication and find it really touching and really motivating. So it's a really good way to promote in memory internally, and also getting colleagues more comfortable with the conversation around in memory. And then lastly, I just wanted to share some of our learnings. We had lots of learnings. One is about getting our timing right. So from doing this 3 years in a row, sending it early December, and then as close to Christmas as possible, we find getting that reminder email as close to Christmas as possible works best. We had to compete with quite an busy email schedule this year, which meant we couldn't quite send it on Christmas Eve, but have found that that's the best time to send it when people are in quite a reflective mood. Also sending it at weekends and when people have space to find a photo, think about what they want to write. Personalising, we've played around quite a lot with subject lines on our emails, and where we use their name in the subject line, that's worked best. Our best performing subject line has been, who are you remembering this Christmas, or who are you thinking of this Christmas? And we also make sure that we're segmenting our emails to make sure that they reflect what that person has done before and how they support us. Collaboration has been really important. Like lots of other charities, we have lots going on around Christmas. So we have to navigate around other comms to make sure that we're not overwhelming this audience. We had Anthony Nolan's 50th birthday, the Christmas raffle, the Christmas appeal. So knowing exactly who you want to send it to and who this is for really was really helpful for me. I knew that this audience engaged with our Christmas raffle, so I can make sure that they get that but exclude them from other things, so I can prioritize them for this campaign. As well as knowing your audience, one thing I'd like to consider at Anthony Nolan is growing our audience. Our audience is relatively small, and one thing that, as I've said, we are focusing on email for this campaign at the moment. So to be able to grow it, we need to be able to reach more people. And at the moment, we're not maximising communicating with people who donate tribute funds or donate to Just Giving pages who've given their opt-ins. And that's something that I would really like to look into. And then this final point was just what's next. Another gap and opportunity for us is what we do with these supporters next and whether we take them on a journey. All you need to do is look at the dedication page and you'll see how motivated these supporters are. They've chosen to make a really personal gift and remember someone really important to them with Anthony Nolan. So we need to honour that and think about where we take them and how we talk to them. That is all from me. Thank you.
Brilliant. That's so insightful. Thank you very much, all of you. A clear message that came through from all of them is actually in your promotion using real stories. That clearly does make a massive difference in terms of your promotion. I just wanted to have the opportunity to share the Anthony Nolan page as well before, and then perhaps whilst I'm doing that, Catherine, you can have a look at the questions that have come up.
Absolutely. I've actually jotted them down because I sometimes find that going back when new ones come in. Someone asked initially the cost of a bespoke page. So we have all these templates that people can use. The cost of a bespoke page is £130. So if you want your own banner image to go on the top of the dedication page, then that's £130. There was a question for Emma from Claudia, and the question was, how did you get your case studies? And do you make sure that you can identify these 225 new donors so that you can track them? So Emma, if you are able to answer that, that'd be brilliant.
So case studies, I just reached out to the rest of the team, asked any of our relationship fundraisers if they were working with any supporters at that time that were doing something in memory of their mum. So that's where Belinda came from. She'd been making marmalade as an in-memory fundraiser for her mum, so she was on board. And then one of our other girls, I said, had just run in a 10K for us, and we knew that that was in memory of her mum. And then Carly and Jan, Carly actually works for the Stroke Association. She works for the Here For You, I think it is, helpline. So yeah, I found her on Yammer, which was really helpful. How we're going to track them, it depends what database you use for your supporters. So for our database, we're able to put a unique source code onto the supporters that we got through the dedication page. And I can also link myself to those supporters as a key contact and run reports specifically for those people. So I'll just be doing that to check in on them when they've had when they've gone onto the in-memory mailing journey.
Excellent, thank you. There's a couple of questions that I can answer really quickly. So somebody said, I didn't know that you keep or reopen a page for next Mother's Day. Yeah, absolutely. And Emma mentioned you can make them read only as well. whether I would recommend it or not, well, it's worked really well for Anthony Nolan, so I guess it depends on your objectives, but you're very welcome to reopen them. I've seen some great success doing that, so, and equally with new pages. So it just entirely depends on what your objectives are for that.
Yeah, I would back Sally up on that. Sorry, just interject there, because I've often steered charities away, not steered them away, but they've mentioned reopening it, and we've talked through it, and it's really interesting to hear that reopening it has been really successful. So yeah, really good to hear. Sorry,
somebody else asked, do you supporters donate through the dedication page? Yes, Much Love process those donations, and that income would come back to you through your partner area. It'll come to you in a slightly different payment form than your tribute fund payments, different reference on it, and different reporting, but it still comes from us. Oh, there was a question here. Love the idea of a picture envelope. Is it a matter of sending the image to your local printer, or is this specialised? I can't remember who that was for.
We can probably, we can answer that. So our designer designed the outer envelope, and then it was sent to the printers. So that's how it was done. But yeah, we were really short on pictures back then. So yeah, it was, I think our head of fundraising took that picture of Trina with the donkeys. With our donkeys, yeah. But it would be done by your designer, and then you send it on to printers.
Excellent, great. And Rowena, someone's asked about the animations don't come with the Much Loved service, but Rowena presumably got someone to create a snazzy GIF.
Yeah, we use that we tested that in our headers this year, in our emails.
Excellent.
There's some new ones just coming in, actually, or since I wrote them down. So Claudia's asked for Rowena, you said your Christmas appeal ran alongside this. Did you connect them in any way, or was your Christmas appeal only postal and did not use email follow-up for the appeal? They only have a small group of people we can contact, approximately thousands, so don't know, so don't want to saturate it.
Yeah, we they ran separately, so it was just a matter of working with our individual giving manager to work out what would be best for which audience to receive. So if we had data on people giving in memory, or we knew that their motivation was in memory, we prioritise them for this mailing. Our individual, we have a really big individual giving audience, and our individual giving team know quite a lot about them. So that was a postal mailing and an email, and we added a PS on one of those just to make sure they were slightly integrated. But I thought it was really interesting hearing about Laura and Stephanie's approach to integrating the two.
Great. And then Zoe's asked, does the language on the dedication page have to say, who are you dedicating this to, as they want to use something like tell us your story? No, absolutely, that can be changed. So once the page is created, actually Zoe, obviously I look after your account, but we can make those amendments and change it so that the wording on the journey for the supporter adding the dedication can change. And I know that, yeah, we can do that at our end, so absolutely that can change, and then obviously be more apt and suitable for whatever your page is campaigning about and things like that. I think that's it, actually, looking at the questions. There's one here from Han, how are you stewarding the new supporters? I think actually that might have been the one that was answered by Emma, but if not, drop us an email, and it's sort of quite a, if that isn't what you wanted to know, Han, actually. Let's have a look.
There's a question from Vanessa. Vanessa, I'll tell you what, we'll get in touch with you directly out of this webinar and have a quick chat with you about how Much Love works, because it's probably a little bit too complicated for this session, because you've got your tribute pages and dedication pages, so we can pick that up with you directly.
One thing, sorry, just one thing on that actually is in your Much Love partner area, there's the Manage tab. So those of you thinking, oh, how do I set up a templated tribute dedication page? Sorry, now I'm going from one to the other, dedication pages. So in the Manage tab in your partner area, there's an area, I think the bottom one is training and support. And then when you're in our training and support site, there is a section on dedication pages, and that includes lots of short videos on how to create dedication pages, and includes tutorials on how to set up pages on using the templates and things like that. So
thank you. Just all that's left to say is a huge thank you to our panelists that joined us today. It's been incredibly interesting. I've learned a lot, and hopefully the audience have, and I know that the other panelists have learned lots about the other people that have presented today. So lots to think about, lots to take away. And hopefully we'll see lots more dedication pages being set up and used, and raising lots more income for yourselves, or, you know, collecting lots more case studies, which I know is really difficult to do, and possibly getting new supporters as well. So thank you very much to our panelists, and so big round of applause for them, and thank you everyone for joining us. And the sun's come out here, hopefully it is where you are now, and so all that's left for me to say is have a lovely afternoon.